All right. This is the new Andor blaster from the show. Um, this one was a bit tricky to get worked out. Um, Especially the spinning chamber on here, but it's locked, ready to go now. Spring load trigger. I hit a button in here. Basically, in the show, this is a solenoid that they used that would pop back from hitting a button over here that would release this. So without making a real expensive kit and going full electronic and stuff, there's a button that's hidden in here that allows you to unlock and flip it. So let's get into building this thing and take a look at it. All right. All right, so the first main parts, let me get my glue and my tools and all that good stuff. All right, the first couple things that we can do here is we want to put together the latch that holds the chamber from spinning. Um, where the body goes together, you can't get to the latch screw and the latch and stuff once you've attached this. So what we're going to need is we're going to need the latch and little set screw. So we have a 16 millimeter set screw. It's not a screw with the head missing. Come on, focus. Right there, an Allen wrench fits that. And what I have here is, I get asked all the time, the screw head's missing. It's not missing, it's just a set screw. So we're going to need the set screw. There's two springs. There's a longer spring and there's a half spring. And what we're going to do is, if you notice, there's a hole right here. It allows you just to put the half spring in there. Where you take our little rocker arm here, and actually, let me pull it out and I'll show you this. The spring needs to be twisted over this little arm, and there you go. So you put it on there, and on this you can twist clockwise, and as you push, it'll open the spring up and pop it onto there. But just put all that in there, and what you're going for is this hole that I actually had cleaned these up properly. There we go. So what we're going for is we want to push this down and look through the hole here. I know you can't really see that. Well, yeah, you can. See, we can see all the way through it where I'm holding it. So we just want to have that lined up. We just take our set screw, start it, kind of check it from a couple different angles and make sure it's going in straight. And screw that bad boy in. What we want to do is we want to screw this in until it gets flush. Should be flush on this side, and it'll be flush on this side. So what we have now here is, if you look down in here, we have a little latch. And that right there and it's very easy to push, but it has good holding power up here. And that's the little button that I've hidden down inside of here. So you push and it unlatches. I went through many scenarios on what to do there, and that actually came out to be the best. So that didn't have to employ the trigger to spin it or any of that weird stuff or anything. You could do everything separate the way you should be able to. So once we've done that, before we go any further, we need to go ahead and put the trigger and the spring rod in the body, because once we put these two pieces together, we can't mess with the spring or with the trigger or spring or anything, and we can't do anything with the rod. So this will get us to this point right here. Here, actually, sorry about that. So what we're going to want is we need the trigger, we need the long spring, and we need the shorter of the steel rods. Now, what we want to do is take your spring And for this, since it's going inside a hole, you go counterclockwise. And you'll know because if you try to go clockwise, it kind of digs in. Go counterclockwise and it'll pop all the way in the hole. Now, this is the fun part because it's, well, it's a pain in the butt. But if you notice, there's a little round section down there and a hole in the back. And that the rod will go all the way through the body, through the trigger, the spring, and everything into there. So what we do is, I found the easiest way to do this is just put the spring down in that pocket down there. Go ahead and put the trigger down in there. Get it lined up, and you'll see the spring is all like bowed up and goofy looking. And at this point, you can just take a screwdriver and push it straight down and make sure it's in there flat. And there you go. And so it all nice and smooth, got good, strong action on it. The rod, don't worry about it. See, the rod will actually pop up. It's not a big deal because, set this offside, when we put this on here, this actually holds the rod in place for the trigger and all that goody stuff. Okay. So at this point, what we can do is we can go ahead and join these two bodies together. And it's easier to do it like now before we put the whole chamber and stuff in, because we can glue it together and actually put some pressure on this and hold it, and it's a lot easier. So what we're going to do is we want to make these two surfaces together, but make sure that we don't get, you know, any glue anywhere we shouldn't. So as long as you don't get it anywhere on this rod, on this release lever, you should be fine. See, make sure all my stuff's in there. Okay. So I'm going to go, and what I'm going to do is just go through and put a nice bead. And again, this is CA glue, but if you want to use thick super glue, works perfectly fine. I'm going to have a little squishy here. The CA glue, I like it because it's a two-part glue. Set where I want it to. And with the CA glue, it gives you a couple, just a short period of time, you can kind of work with it. And with CA glue, you just hit it with this activator and wait just a second and it fully sets. Where super glue, same thing, but you have to wait for it to actually, you know, when it decides to go ahead and set. This, you can work with it a little bit. Port material that I didn't finish cleaning off of there. All right. So this is where we're at now. We're fully secured. Triggers in there. We have the latch in there. So see, that's all you're activating when you push that. So this back body part, on this one, I don't even have it glued on right now. It actually fits quite well. That will probably be the last thing, just that way you can take a look and make sure everything's the way you want it to be. And you know, also remember, if like even watching this video, it'll help you see where you do and don't need to paint. Again, I always try to stay away from painting the areas that don't show or where the parts contact. It's not necessary, just like if you painted the grip body and you did these grip channels where these grips set in there, it's not going to be any big deal. You put glue in them, they're good to go, not a big deal. Matter of fact, if we want to, we can just go ahead and take some glue. Had way too much coffee today. Sorry, my hands are shaking so much. But that's the way to go. All right, let me get some more on the edge. Oop, almost glued my finger on. We take this and there we go. Drop that bad boy on there. Wait just a second. All right, it's set. Come to this side. You know that. Of course, I did the grips separate so you can paint them and get the wood look, or you know, whatever. It's much easier than trying to tape everything off, and boy, I'm doing one hell of a horrible job on gluing this stuff right now. All right, let's get this one on here. Bam. There's no oozy anywhere. So there we go. And if we want to, I'm going to hit that front edge. And again, like I said, this is CA glue. I actually used to use Bob Smith, and not saying anything bad about Bob Smith, but the last 4 or 5 bottles I got, there seemed to be something clearly wrong with it over about a 3-month period of time. So I actually found this brand, and I've been using it quite a bit. I'll order it in bulk off of Amazon. So okay. All right, so we've got the bulk of that together. So the fun part is this is the spring that allows the chamber to rotate. It's a pretty stout little spring. It's probably a little bit stronger than it needs to be, but you know, hey. So these are 2 pieces. If you'll notice, this piece has a line in it, and this piece has a line in it. And what that's for is that is for the leg of the screw, or of the spring, I'm sorry, to set down in. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to be putting a bead of glue in just that channel, not down around the circle or anything else, just in the leg channel. That's it. And it's really not even so much to glue the spring in and for it never to move again, because most likely it will over time break free. The steel will break free from the glue. It's no big deal because there's no room or no place for it to go. This is more about handling on putting it together. So let's put us a little channel right there. Again, thick super glue. And I keep saying thick because thin is a pain in the butt to work with, and it runs everywhere. All right, so that's set. So the next thing we're going to do is this next leg just goes in there. And if you notice, there's this little notch here. This little notch rides around in this channel. And that notch is what stops this chamber. Like, let me undo the release here. Like with the release out of the way, it can't go any further than that because of that notch. Well, it can't go any further than that because of that notch. So that notch right there is what rides in a 180-degree turn inside of this channel that provides the beginning and the end stops of the rotation. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to glue that leg in, and then it will turn and we'll just set it down in there. So that's what we're looking for it to be at right now, is that this leg pointing this way, and that will be setting just like that. And it won't fit and kind of stay in there perfect until we put the rod through the center of it, but you'll see what I'm talking about in just a second. So we just do this little channel. We put the leg in there. We go ahead and spin it. And I'm just going to hold it in. Again, if you're just using thick super glue, just sit here and wait a few seconds. Now, the thing about super glue is blowing on super glue does help it cure. Me blowing is me just causing this to evaporate quicker. The carbon dioxide that you exhale actually helps super glue set faster. So actually blowing on it actually causes it to set faster. So now we have this glued in there, and see, this is kind of wonky, and you can turn it and set it down in that groove. Where this all comes to play is we take this long rod and we stick it in there, and we find the center. Change hands. Okay. So now this rod went through here and went into the hole of this. The hole doesn't go all the way through. This is where it stops. And if you notice, the chamber spinning body has a slot that matches. And if we go ahead and slide it together and look, See, it slots in there, and that's where we're at. And we could actually spin it on that and see it won't go any further than that. You come back, it won't go any further than that. So boom, boom. This was kind of a pain in the butt to get all the measurements exactly right, but we actually managed it. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the chamber in. If you see there's a hole that's back here on the back side, that's where this rod is going to end up finishing going through. So you have this with this slotted edge back here and a hole back here. That goes to the back side. So if you just put it in sideways and go ahead and turn it, and it'll pop in one of those latches. Now, here's the thing. This is an important part. This hole here, that's the barrel, okay? So the barrel goes up top. Now, this is important because you can cram hard enough and make this go together. I did offset this some to try to prevent that. But you can cram it together and it's going to fit all weird and wonky. So the biggest part that you need to pay attention to is the barrel needs to be up top of the gun, okay? So the thing is you see where this foot is at. That's in the wrong place. So what we need to do is we need to take this and spin it around so that foot's up top. Okay. Okay. So now that we've got this up top and our little foot's the correct position there, let's go ahead and stick it together and just test fit everything. Might have to kind of wiggle it, and you'll know the rod fell down in here when it all seats together properly and stuff. But so if you take this, you don't have to press the latch to be able to spin it and cock it and have it ready to go. Want to, you can go ahead and test flip it. You know, do it a couple times, make sure everything is going as should be. Okay, so that seems to be all good and correct. I'd have to take my cover and pop this foot out. There we go. All right, so that's all together. We've tested it. We know that that you know it's working and spinning and catching properly and all the goody stuff. So let me get the rod back in here. Get it all seated. All right. So what we can do is we can go ahead and glue that together now, and then we'll move on. And the front, and I did these separately. Technically, I mean, they could be one piece, but the really cool thing about this blaster is the way that it's got all the really rubbed bronze or brass edge. I guess it is bronze edges and stuff. And I wanted people to be able to really do the paint job and get in here and do to make these pieces really stand out. The way they did this blaster is this piece is only a little bit more narrow than this piece. So, you know, you paint all of this together and you're going to fill in a lot of that detail right there. So if you do paint these separately and get them ready and then put them together, you're going to maintain that really good deep detail that you'll get around there. So all right, so what we're going to do, the only thing that we have to do here is we don't even technically need to put any glue on the foot because the foot has nowhere to go once we glue this together. But we're just going to want to put some glue just a little bit around here. We don't want any oozing over or anything and making contact with the spinning body. But what I go ahead and do though is, you don't have to, but I just put like a little dab right there because, you know, why not? Go ahead and put you a little bitty bead of it around there. All right, make sure that this is already all together. Get it stuck down in there and wiggle it around. Wipe off any excess that you might have. Hold her together. There you go. Let that set up for a minute. There we go. all nice and together. Let's check it again. It cocks by itself without hitting the latch. Bam, flipping, cocks, bam. Love it. Anyways, all right, so now we're going to pretend, hey, we've painted it. It looks pretty. Go ahead and put us a bead around in there. And in case you might be wondering, if anybody is wondering, this activator for the CA glue doesn't leave a residue, so it doesn't affect primers or paint or anything like that. So you're good to go. You don't have to do any like special cleaning or anything. That being said, I know for this brand and this CA50 and the Bob Smith, you don't. I'm not going to speak for every brand and blah, blah, blah out there. So, okay, so now what we have is we have this little safety switch for the side here. We're just going to go ahead and put a glob around the edge right there. Now, on the blaster, it's always parked up top, and then there's two little indent knobs there on the blaster. So we just park it in the upper one. My assumption is there's actually three, and they've got it parked on that one. So put that in right there. Let's go ahead, and this is the end button. Same thing. I did it separate so that you can print it. Also, see, like when I set it on there, I realized that, where'd it go? Okay. Well, it took care of itself. There's a little piece that was on there that was kind of in the way of it sitting flush, but go ahead and go around the, oh, hope if I actually squeezed it enough to get glue out of there. There we go. Back on the table. All right. So now I take the seam of that. Of course, you'll have yours painted, but I put the seam facing up just so that you can't see it. There you go. So that's all done. Really, the only thing left now is the orange tip when you get ready to put that on there. And then the back piece, which will, you know, we can glue on there, but the back ring, okay? Now, if you notice, you have a hole here and here, okay? Now, this ring has a split in it. And now that I say this, I'm going to make myself a liar. This ring will stretch enough to go all the way into both halves. And then, ha ha ha. Now, you can take that one step further. You can go ahead and put your little drop glue. There you go. That's your little lanyard holder thingy, my bobber. All right, and then this piece, of course, you can glue it on whenever you get ready to, but it holds on there. And of course, you're going to want to glue it on there because after you paint it up and everything, if you start carrying this with you, you're going to knock that off. But here, we'll go ahead and we'll stripe that way. We'll stripe that way. And it also, will add to the strength of the blaster too. I mean, it is something that you do want to do because when you glue these top pieces together, so now what you've done is you've connected the top part to the back part, so you've added nothing but strength in here. So this thing is pretty stout. I dropped this one the other day. It was not freaked me out because I was expecting to break a chip or something, or not knock a chip in it or something, but it didn't. It was fine. So here we go. We've got our spring-loaded trigger. It's got really good pressure on it. So you walk around with it cocked. There's no rattling. It's all good to go. And then so spring-loaded trigger, then you can just reach up with your finger and bump that, and bam. Actually kind of like it. Pretty cool. But there you go. Orange tip on. And there is the new Andor blaster. Thanks, guys.